Hey everyone, welcome back to Williamson Ridge Outdoors. Today we are standing out in part of almost our hayfield, but what this is actually, we're fencing in a section of our hayfield and making it into a horse pasture. So there's been a lot of work going on in order to get all this stuff prepared, and I ended up extending my hayfield and making part of the grown up area, the woods and stuff that was kind of growing into the hayfield. I actually hired a bulldozer to come in and push all this stuff back to the woods in order to kind of clear out a whole bunch more space. So there were a few things that I didn't want the bulldozer to do, and then we were running out of time on our day because we still actually had a whole nother section to work on. These walnut trees were taking a lot of time in order to get these down with the bulldozers. He has to go around and clear out and dig out the roots, and I was shocked at how big the root balls on these things are. So he got a few of them out, and one of them in particular was a pretty good sized tree, and he actually spent probably 45 minutes just on that one tree trying to get it out. So I told him to go ahead and leave some of the other trees, and I would actually just cut them and then cut them off flush with the ground. So all I'm ever going to be doing in here anyways is using the rotary cutter. I'm not going to be doing really any finish mowing or anything like that. So it's going to be several inches off the ground that I'm going to be mowing. Now, this thing is a major leaner. It's got a huge amount of lean, and it's actually leaning right over where my fence is going to be. So I want to cut it out and get it out of the way. A lot of times it's kind of hard to tell on the camera, and that's why I've set this up this way, because I'm standing pretty much straight up and this tree is leaned way out. So I'm going to cut this thing down today, and that way it's clear from my fence and I don't have to worry about later on it falling over onto my fence. Plus, I'm leaving enough room on the back side of my fence to come through with the tractor and kind of keep it mowed out, so I don't have to come in and try to use a string trimmer or something to keep the fence line clean. So anyways, I want to get into this. This is not a how-to video by any means. I'm not a professional arborist. This is just me just sharing, cutting this tree down and the way I want to go about doing it. Why that these trees are so dangerous whenever they're leaning that way is because as you're sawing into it, if you just do like a regular notch and then you start sawing it from the back, there's so much pressure and tension on that tree that it could do what they call barber chair, and that barber chair process like splits right up the middle of that tree, and instead of it breaking off at the stump, it'll split up that tree, and then you have a big piece that comes off of it or kind of unfolds from the tree, and can be very dangerous. So what I ended up doing is cutting the notch in the tree and then doing a plunge cut and then cutting it towards the notch to where there's about a 2-inch or 3-inch hinge on it. And then I went the other direction towards the back of the tree and cut out all the middle of the tree and left another 2-inch section or so that is called a trigger. So then I pulled the saw out and went to the back of the tree and just cut that trigger. And as that trigger let go, you could see that tree pop and all the force just let go off of that trigger. And then it had the hinge point to still kind of guide it down where I wanted it to fall. And so as it came down, it pretty much just pivoted off the hinge. It went where I wanted it to go, and then it kind of popped right off the hinge right there at the end and got the tree down on the ground safely without barber chairing or anything bad happening. Now again, this is not a how-to video. I'm not a professional arborist. This is just the way that I went about doing this. I have done this several times in the past, especially around this new fence line where the bulldozer pushed a bunch of material over, but those larger trees were really hanging over the field trying to get to the open sunlight. So I had a whole bunch of trees leaning over like this, and this has proved to be a very effective method of doing this. If you found this video helpful, I appreciate you hitting that thumbs up button. Hit that subscribe button, follow along for all the projects we have going on around the property, and we'll see you on the next one.